I forgot to hit record at the beginning. So one of the things that I would like, I'm just going to repeat that we're going to be using Blender. I have linked a tutorial, but the other thing that I want to mention, so for Jacob, maybe that's the only one we're missing, Jacob, is that you need to turn in your capstone hours timesheet into the capstone course, and I've got a link right here for that to happen at the bottom of today's announcement, and I will try to remember to, and Thomas, I bet Connor's is the same way for his capstone sheet. Okay. So anyways, we need to get those capstone hours uploaded. And so what I will try to do is tomorrow or Wednesday, I will be at the school and I will take this sheet with me so I can remember to go around to your desks and find your capstone hour sheet and email it to you, because you may have had things that may not be all encompassing and I won't know that. I'll send it to you. I know that Riley is finishing up a capstone project for me, and we'll get those updated, and then you can turn those into that capstone hours assignment as soon as you feel like those are done. Sound good?
What if we don't have all the hours?
It's going to be a fluid thing. We did not plan on school being ended at this point. Christy still had 2 more projects she wanted us to work on. We still had AWA stuff we needed to work on, and we still do. But whatever hours you have, I need those for documentation, because I have to actually account for industry projects and industry capstones, and that's why I rely heavily on you guys keeping track of those.
Okay.
That's for a different certification that our school uses, and so I need those capstone hours. So whatever you got, we'll take it at this point. So that's the biggest thing I didn't want to forget to tell you today. So everybody was able to get Blender downloaded? Anybody have trouble with that? Great. Well, we've got about 20 minutes, so I'm just going to jump in. If you guys will go ahead and open up your Blender.
I have this quick setup menu. Oh, that went away.
Oh. Do what? What?
I spray my hair and to get it curly.
Okay. You're going to have to hold it like that till it dries.
Oh, yeah.
If you want it curly. Okay. Well, it's going to take you all day. For real. All right. So can you guys see my Blender screen?
No.
Yeah, I'm looking fine.
Okay, that's fine. If you guys have your Blender open, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the video for you.
G'day.
G'day.
If you
And this guy has a YouTube playlist. He's actually kind of pretty comical. I like him. One of the first things he's going to show you is how to set a monkey's head on fire at the end of this first video. But it's basically, whoops, am I sharing screen?
No.
No. Emma, please quit. You're going to see just a minute. Okay, now can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I want to full screen it. There we
Yeah,
go.
I am. There we go. So he's a pretty happy little character guy, and I've enjoyed watching through the first 3 of his tutorials. He's pretty quick.
are new to Blender,
And so I'm just going to sit back and let you guys watch this
if
and kind
you
of
are
move
new
around
to Blender,
in your environment.
then welcome. You're in the right place. This is a complete beginner's tutorial series designed to show you how to use all the main features of Blender whilst learning how to create a delicious donut and coffee. Now you are excited, you want to start clicking on things and learning things. But since this is part 1 of a series, I want to take just 60 seconds to explain what you will learn and what you won't learn. So right now, this is you. You are a little red dot and you are entering into the wide world of 3D.
This makes me feel so much better. And for those of you who aren't comfortable with 3D, he's absolutely right. it's 3D is a whole world of layers and textures and wire mesh and composition, and you can easily get lost in the creation. But understand, not everybody gets to be a pro at all layers of animation. Some people stop at 2D, some do 3D motion graphics, text-wise, and other people build universes. So everybody can find a niche in here, just like everybody can find a niche just in the media world. So I like the way he presented this part.
And if you've done any research, you probably know there is a lot to learn. And it can be a little overwhelming. And you can feel like, I'm never going to learn it all, so why bother? Well, the good news is you don't need to know everything. If you're familiar with the 80-20 rule, there is really only 20% of the features inside 3D software that you use 80% of the time. And that is what this course is all about. It's teaching you those core concepts that you're going to use all the time so that you can then, by the end of it, feel confident creating your own projects in the future. So this is all going up for free on YouTube, and I've just separated it by level, just like in terms of chapter, so you know what to expect in terms of difficulty. But if you follow it from start to finish, rest assured, you can create a donut and coffee. That final image there, you can get there because there are 500,000 people who completed the last version of this tutorial that I made 3 years ago. There's even a Blended Donuts subreddit where you can see the results of people that finished the last course. So it might look advanced at this stage, like, oh, I don't know 3D, how am I gonna, you can get there, right? If you just follow it through to the end. Now, this is part 1 of level 1, so this is gonna be the basics of the basics, and we're gonna start with the user interface. And just to keep it interesting, I promise you, if you finish the end of this video, you will learn how to set a monkey head on fire. Random, but you'll see. So open Blender for the first time, and this is what you should see. Now this big area here, this big patch of space is called the 3D viewport, and it's where you'll spend probably 90% of your time. If you're modeling something, if you're like laying out a scene and you're moving things around, it's all going to happen right here. So let's talk about moving stuff. So we have the cube here, the default cube selected, and let's say we want to move it. So if you go to the toolbar, you've got a move function, right? And when you do that, you'll see that you get these arrows that appear over your cube. Now, if I just click and drag on any of these arrows, you can see that I'm moving it along that direction, that axis. So there's 3 axes, because there are 3 dimensions in the world: the Z axis, the X axis, and the Y axis. So along those, I can sort of move it anywhere within this space here. Okay, so that's moving, and the next one underneath that, you've got rotate. I can rotate something along a specific axis. Or by the way, if you just like don't click on any of these like highlighted colors, just click anywhere in there, it's gonna like trackball it, which is like just free rotate. If you release, by the way, it's gonna like, release the mouse, it's going to like drop it wherever you set it to. But if while rotating it, you just right click, it's gonna like cancel the action, or you hit escape, right? But anyways, then you've got scale. So if I click the scale option, now I've got these, that function there, or this axis, or that axis, etc. Or click anywhere within there, and now you're scaling just the size of the thing. Okay, so move.
Okay, one of the things he didn't say there that might be beneficial is if you notice that there are the red, green, and blue kind of squares in the middle of that, outside of the arrows, those will stretch the box in perspective, so it will keep it. If I make it bigger by clicking the red, it's going to bring it in scale bigger in those different directions, besides just using the arrows. So anyways, I just wanted to point out those squares that you see there that he doesn't talk about.
Rotate, scale. And then, by the way, that one down there is like all 3 of them mashed in together for, I don't know, people who are running out of time and they need to click them all at the same time for some reason. But anyways, that's how you can do things. But actually, the faster way to work is to memorize the hotkeys, because you're going to use this a lot. And every time you want to like rotate or scale something, if you have to go up here, then click on this, then click on this, it's a lot of work. It doesn't sound like it, but when you're doing it like repeatedly, hundreds of times an hour, it's a lot of work. So what I would suggest you memorize is the hotkeys. So to move something, it's G. G for grab. Okay, G. And when you do that, it's attached to your cursor. So you just tap the key once, and you don't have to like click or hold or anything like that. It's now attached to my cursor. If I right click, I'm canceling the movement. But if while it's moving like that, if I just left click, it's now confirmed the movement. Now it's free movement right now. So if I was to push the letter of any of those axes, like Z, I'm now moving it along the Z axis, or X, or Y. Okay, so again, that's while it's moving. If I hit any of those keys, I can snap it to that axis. Or instead of having to like do a separate key, so while it's moving, if instead of hitting those axes buttons, if I hold down the middle mouse button, which is, did I talk about the middle mouse? I didn't talk about it. I've recorded this tutorial 5 times. If you click in on the scroll wheel, that's the middle mouse button. And if you hold that in, you'll see that it's like snapping it to a specific axis. So that's actually a really fast way to work. So if I hit G, I can move it down. So G, quickly tap middle mouse to get it to the right axis, then click, then G, quickly tap middle mouse, get it to the right axis. I can do this and I can move this cube anywhere. And it's a really fast way of working. It's great. And those hotkeys work the exact same way. So, sorry, for rotate and scale. So if while rotating, free rotate, X, Y, Z, or middle mouse, and I'm going to rotate it along the X axis. Scaling, again, I don't have to be in scale mode. I can just hit S, S for scale, and that's going to scale it like that. Or I can S, scale along the Y axis by tapping Y, X, Z, or S, middle mouse button, and snap it to a specific axis that I have in mind. Okay, so
let's do a quick run through. What are the hotkeys to move?
G.
What does that mean?
The G is to move, and then you can X, Y, or Z to move it to any axis.
Very good. G stands for grab or go, so move. What about scaling?
S.
S. And what about somebody besides Dylan, rotate?
R.
R. There you go. Okay. And, oh, he hasn't talked about that one yet, so I'll wait. Okay. And so then the G with the Z, or the X with the G, or the Y with the G to move along those axes, as well as you can use any of those with, well, scale. Yeah, and rotate. So also, you may have noticed down at the bottom where you have the timeline, there is some images of some mice at the bottom and the clicker, the buttons. So as he's moving around, or as he's clicked on an object, you will see that bottom bar change, and it tells you based on what you're doing or what you've selected, what options you have. So he hasn't mentioned that, but that's something else that I want to point out, because if I wanted to move or scale an object and then I wanted to do something else, this kind of acts as a shortcut or a cheat sheet of some things that you could do. So if you'll notice that very bottom bar running across the bottom as he's doing things, you'll notice that it's changing appearances.
So those hotkeys, G, R, and S, tip of the iceberg, my friends. A lot of hotkeys to come. There's a lot of hotkeys in Blender, and so I created a shortcut PDF with like all the keyboard shortcuts. So if you join my email newsletter, I'll send you that. It's a PDF that you can print out and stick on your wall, or a Google Doc that you can like save and reference on a separate monitor or whatever. But the link for that is in the description if you are interested, because we're going to learn more hotkeys. Okay, so the next hotkey is moving around, like navigating within this space here, because we're just looking at it from this view. But let's say this cube was all the way off screen. Where's it gone? How are we going to see it now? So if you use the middle mouse button, which is again the scroll wheel, if you push that in, if you hold that down, that is called orbiting, or rotating the view, but orbiting, right? And that enables you to rotate around the view. Now you'll see that we can't really get close to that cube there, because we're just looking at the center of our scene right now. So if we want to pan to a separate area, if we hold down Shift middle mouse button and drag across, then we are looking at a new area. So those two functions, middle mouse button to orbit, and then Shift middle mouse button to drag to a new section, are very common. So I can go anywhere in my space just with those two functions: Shift middle mouse button to pan, middle mouse button to orbit. So just familiarize yourself with that. Just try to move around to different areas of the canvas, the 3D view, like so. Now, if perchance you do not have a mouse with a scroll wheel, or you're on a laptop with a trackpad, good luck with that, by the way. Tough road ahead. No, but there is another way, which is to use this gizmo in the top right-hand corner. If you just click and drag anywhere within that, that is orbit. And then if you click this hand tool and just hold, that will move it. So this whole gizmo section here was designed, it's a new feature of Blender, but it's basically designed because, we know that tablet devices and everything are on the rise. And at some point, people are going to start using them on Surface tablets or something, and they've only got a stylus. So you don't need a mouse, with all the functions to move around Blender anymore. You've got this if you needed it. Or, by the way, let's say, you you just don't have the scroll wheel thing, but you don't want to have to keep using the gizmo. If you go to your user preferences, you'll see something there in input called emulate 3-button mouse, which will just enable you to use Alt and then left click as the middle mouse.
Okay, he got that by going up under Edit, Preferences. Because I've got him set to run it at 1.25 speed instead of normal. But if you come back up here to your menu bar going across the top, Edit, and then Preferences, and then Input, your input for your mouse, that's where he got the feature to modify middle mouse button. Right there. Edit, Preferences, Input, and then emulate the 3-button mouse. So if you're running on a different mouse or something like that, you can use that. Getting the Mac mouse to work quite the same way is not working for me, so I've been using the hand, but I'm going to grab a 3-button mouse because I am very much about hotkeys and shortcuts and would prefer to work that way. So anyways, I just wanted you to catch that.
Hey, Mama.
Mouse,
Okay.
which will just enable you to use Alt and then left click as the middle mouse alternative, essentially. So yeah. The other one I quickly mentioned, because I think I've been doing it without realizing, scroll wheel, that's zoom, or you can click hold down the little magnifying glass thing and you'll zoom in and out. Now, the cube is over there and we could get to it by panning over there, but when you've got a lot of stuff in the scene, like let's say we duplicate this cube, which you could do by going to Object and then click on Duplicate Objects, but you can see the hotkey there, memorize that hotkey, Shift D, we can move that cube over there, right? So we're looking at the cube over here, but now we've got to get all the way over there. It's a lot of work. So if you just click on an object and you want to focus on that, like just zoom over there, if you hit the number pad period key, which is, yeah, that little dot in the bottom corner of your number pad, it will focus on that object, okay? So that's a very fast way of like changing your focus. So you don't have to like fart around with like, oh, gotta move over there, extra slow, nice and easy now, easy does it, don't get lost, right? And by the way, going back to people with a laptop, most laptops don't have number pads. So the other hotkey that you should memorize is the tilde key, which is that key underneath the escape key. There's one there that says view selected. So it'll bring up a pie menu, and one of the options in the pie menu is view selected. And release, and there we go. It does the exact same thing as number pad period key. All right, let's delete this little extra cube. Let's find my original cube. And I'm going to move this over back to the center with G, middle mouse, to drag it along the y-axis, and then I'll hit number pad period again and focus on that cube. Now look at that, we're back at the start. Now, there's more to Blender than just cubes, so let's make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to delete the cube here by just tapping delete, or X if you don't want your arm to move as far. Let's replace it. So I delete the cube. Now I'm going to go to the top section up here. You'll see one that says add, and you'll get a whole bunch of options that will appear here, and you can replace it with something. But it's a long way to go for your mouse when you're adding stuff frequently in Blender. So Shift A is a very common hotkey that you should memorize. Shift A, memorize it as add. I'm adding something, Shift A. And you got a whole bunch of stuff here. Now, oh, by the way, this will be applicable like if you're in the node view or if you're in other views within Blender. So Shift A is a good one to memorize. Now, there's a whole bunch of stuff here. Some things that I've never used before, like speaker. Don't know what that does. It's just useful to someone, but not to me. The main ones you'll use are underneath mesh. You got a whole bunch of what are called primitives, like plane. You can add in a plane, and it's the ground plane. You've got a whole bunch of other really like boring sounding ones, and then you got one right at the bottom there. It's called monkey. So obviously we're going to click it, and this brings us into the final part of this video that I promised you. We're going to set this monkey head on fire, which is a cruel thing to do, but it's not real. So no need to email me. So with the monkey head selected, we're going to use a little Easter egg feature of Blender, but it's like basically if you push F3, this allows you to bring up the search bar, which is actually very common. This isn't the Easter egg part, but F3 is like you can search for anything. Like if you forget the shortcut for something, you can just like type it in and there it is, and you can do it. But if we type into the search bar smoke, you'll see there's one there called quick smoke. And what this does is it has applied a smoke simulation to my selected object, which basically just saves you from like setting up a box and then setting a smoke sim and blah, 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 blah. It's just done that for you. And then if I hit that play button right at the bottom there, you can see it's smoking. Now I promised you fire though. So if you select the monkey and then click the simulator panel button, which it's getting a bit advanced, but just in here where it says smoke, if you change that to fire and smoke, then there you go. You have set the monkey head on fire. Pretty random, but hey, it's cool, right? So that's the end of this video. Go ahead and click here to watch.
Okay. Did you guys see that last part where he set the monkey head on fire? Did I forget to reshare the screen?
I lost it. Smoke.
You lost the smoke?
Yeah, I didn't get to see
I,
it.
yeah, I don't know where the smoke and the fire is.
Okay, sorry. Let me do that one more time. I clicked out of it trying to answer Jacob's question and forgot to hit share again.
The next
So how do you delete the cube?
How do you what?
Delete the cube?
Press X.
Yeah, just X. Okay, so I'm going to pick up here.
ground plane. You've got a whole bunch of other really like boring sounding ones. And then you got one right at the bottom there. It's called monkey. So obviously we're going to click it. And this brings us into the final part of this video that I promised you. We're going to set this monkey head.
Okay, did everybody find the monkey?
Yeah.
I'm having an issue where my like shift mount while I'm pressing the middle mouse button like won't move my view at all.
You can
I
go
don't know,
back
all I
up
can do
here
is
and use
rotate.
the hand at the top.
On fire, which is
Well, that doesn't work either for me. So
Are you using a Mac mouse or a trackpad?
No.
You have a 3-button.
I'm just using I have a 3-button.
You might check under your edit input settings. And I will try to troubleshoot that with you. I'm going to go ahead and let this finish because I've got that meeting at 12:30. But Ethan, you and I'll come back and check that because I've got to do some troubleshooting with my own mouse.
I'm just gonna
Yeah, if you're looking for the F3 thing, it's under edit and you'll see operator search. I played with it when I first saw this and I was like, I want to do that. So yeah, if you're looking for like the thing with F3, it's go under edit, operator search.
Okay, operator search.
Okay, I just restarted Blender and it seems to be working now. So
Okay, so you can jump right to the monkey. Okay.
promised you, we're going to set this monkey head on fire, which is a cruel thing to do, but it's not real. So no need to email me. So with the monkey head selected, we're going to use a little Easter egg feature of Blender, but it's like basically if you push F3, this allows you to bring up the search bar, which is actually very common. This isn't the Easter egg part, but F3 is like you can search for anything. Like if you forget the shortcut for something, you can just like type it in and there it is, and you can do it. But if we type into the search bar smoke, you'll see there's one there called quick smoke. And what this does is it has applied a smoke simulation to my selected object, which basically just saves you from like setting up a box and then setting a smoke sim and blah, 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 blah. It's just done that for you. And then if I hit that play
And
button
it
right at
wraps
the
it
bottom
around
there,
your frame.
you can see it's smoking. Now I promised you fire though. So if you select the monkey and then click the simulator panel button, which it's getting a bit advanced.
Okay, that simulator button. Did everybody find that on their screen depending on where they're at?
Mine's not smoking.
Yours isn't smoking.
No.
Did you hit the play button?
Yeah.
Nope, he went silent on me. I muted him.
It's for anything. Like if you forget the shortcut for something, you can just like type it in and there it is, and you can do
See,
it.
I can't get to this panel on mine. I've looked all over for the search and haven't been able to find that with mine. So that's where I'm stuck at.
But if we type into the search bar smoke, you'll see there's one there called quick smoke. And what this does is it has applied a smoke simulation to my selected object, which basically just saves you from like setting up a box and then setting a smoke.
Hey, Dylan, are you getting the box around yours?
Yeah, I got 2 boxes.
2 boxes.
I got 1 now. Yeah, I have the box.
Okay, sometimes it depends on which view you're in. So I'm wondering if you had
Blah, blah, blah,
switched
blah,
view.
It's just done that for you. And then if I hit that play button right at the bottom there, you can see it's smoking. Now I promised you fire though. So if you select the monkey and then click the simulator panel button, which it's getting a bit.
Okay, so make sure your box isn't selected at this point, but that the framing of your monkey, the wire mesh of your monkey is chosen to get
Yeah, I'll hit still not smoking.
in
okay.
advance. But just in here, where it says smoke, if you change that to fire and smoke, then there you go. You have set the monkey head on fire. Pretty random, but hey, it's cool, right? So that's the end of it.
All right, so that's end of his video. I'm stuck at the point of the monkey because of my mouse and not being able to find that help to type in smoke. So I'm going to change my mice and I will have that ready tomorrow. And so Dylan, if you can look around a little bit, if not, maybe I can answer your questions tomorrow.
Yeah, I can't get it.
Okay. Then, do what?
Yeah.
I
I can't hear you. Okay, what were you saying, Liz?
She's cutting out. I can't even hear her.
I can't get fire, or smoke. Like when I hit play, I don't know if it's like my computer, but like I also cannot get smoke to appear. Like I did everything, but then it might just be like the speed that my computer does.
I don't know either. I can't get the smoke myself, but let me troubleshoot that. And when we join class tomorrow, maybe I'll have great answers for us. So don't stress about that. I just wanted him to go over the hotkeys with you, the G, the S, the R, using the middle mouse because that's kind of different. We've gotten so used to using left or right click that middle mouse is used a lot in Blender. That you have the orientation at the top where you have the Z, the X, and the Y to rotate within, or you can use the hand to move or pan across. Okay, so some of these tools are kind of intuitive because of other software that you've used, like Photoshop has the hand tool to move things around. Premiere has the hand tool. Final Cut has the hand tool to slide the timeline. So some of these tools that he's showing you are really kind of intuitive based on what you've already seen in other softwares. But I will work on solving my mouse problem to see if I can't get the monkey head to catch fire before tomorrow, and we will go over that. In Canvas, I'm going to go back to Canvas right quick. I have actually linked his video in today's announcement. So if you want to go back and review those hotkeys, tomorrow we will start with the monkey head on fire, and then we will move into part 2 of the tutorial. And we're just going to walk through it day by day. So don't stress it. Don't stress it at all. But I'm hoping by the end of next week, we have the donut and coffee done. Okay, and that will give us experience working with the mesh, working with wrapping, working with layers, all of those fun things that Alex was talking about, because they do work very similar to what I've worked with in Blender before, but there are some tweaks from the last time I worked in it. So I'm going to be picking up some of it right along with you. But this guy, he kind of keeps my attention. He's kind of funny. So I hope he engages you as well. But he has a playlist. He also has a link on, if you go through the link here to his tutorial, there's a link under there for the hotkeys shortcuts. So you may want to print those out so that you can reference those as we're learning them. Some of them have even changed since I used it last. So I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
You're missing your meeting.
Yes, I'm about to sign off and go. So tomorrow, again, we will meet at noon. It will look just like this. I will put the link out there. I will try to make sure that it doesn't require me to admit you, because Jacob is still trying to be admitted and I don't know why. So he's going to get into the class as soon as I say goodbye.
I won't be here tomorrow.
Right, you emailed me that. So if you're not going to be in class, please remember to do the same thing we've always done. Go out and send me a calendar invite. Okay, so Liz, if you'll go do that. That way,
Is
when
that-
I go ahead, Dylan.
Is that like, do we have to face some type of conflict for not coming into video?
Say that one more time.
Like, it's the same thing for like, if you don't show up to class and you send an email, that's kind of what this is.
Yes, exactly.
If we don't show up when we send you an email, are we in trouble in some way?
You're still going to be expected to watch the previous day's video or the previous lesson, because I may, just like today, I was inserting things in there that I wanted you to pay attention to and catch on to.
But there's no conflict. Or
Yes, there will be questions. Like tomorrow, there will be a couple of questions for you to answer over what we talked about today.
as long as we watch something with this.
Yes,
Okay.
but that's not,
That-
hey,
yeah.
don't come to class, because then when you've got questions and I've already answered it, I'm going to get frustrated.
Right.
Okay. So I would rather take care of it all in one setting and go from there than me having to try to explain it or text it out 5 times. That
Okay.
gets old real quick. Okay. But this is kind of how we're going to roll. We've got class tomorrow at noon and then on Thursday at noon. So Wednesday and Friday, you guys can play or sleep in or do whatever. And we'll just pick up tomorrow, since we were starting Blender today with that. I've got to run and go to my teacher's meeting. So I've got another Zoom meeting right behind, or a Teams meeting, I guess, through our Microsoft. But Jacob, what we did today, and I'm sorry you're just now getting in, I will say goodbye to the rest of you guys. If you have questions, please, again, don't hesitate to text me. And again, check Canvas tomorrow, whether you're in class or not. There's going to be an assignment out there about today's announcements and today's activities. So Liz, even though you're not with us tomorrow because you're going to send me that calendar invite, you still got that activity to do. And then the video will be recorded and I will get it uploaded. Okay?
Yep.
All right. See you guys. Jacob, this has been recorded.
Oh, cool cat.
Do what? Okay.